Now, nearly half of residents in Acquah and other communities near the capital will be without water supply for 4 days beginning Monday, 24th February 2014. The service disruption is to enable the Ghana Water Company undertake some major rehabilitation works at the Pong treatment plant. Residents in the areas to be affected include Tema, Adenta, Dodowa, Jolo and Kokomlimle are therefore being advised to store enough water before next Monday.
The 4-day water shortage is as a result of expansion and rehabilitation works at the Pong water treatment plant, which serves a third of Accra.
We have a project we call Pong Intake and Acquah Rural's Water Rehabilitation and Expansion Project. And the project has got to a point where the contractors need to do some interconnections. They are going to connect a new 72-inch diameter raw water pipeline to an existing fiberglass 60-inch diameter raw water pipeline. So the new one is now going to be connected to the old one, and this is going to take about 3-4 days for the contractors to finish the work.
Other areas to be affected include Medina, Afiya, East Legon, Kwabenya, Taifa, Dome, Pig Farm, Mamobi, Osu, La, Smintex Road and Cantonments. Communications manager at the Ghana Water Company Limited, Nana Yao Berry Mabani, outlined some measures put in place to mitigate the impact of the 4-day service disruption.
What we would want residents and our valued customers to do is first to try and store as much water as they can, so that during the period of the interruption they will be able to rely on the water that they have stored to last them for the period. And what we are also going to do in Tema is that we are going to store some water in our terminal reservoir at Ashama. That is our booster station at Ashama.
Officials also noted the company has mobilized its own tankers in addition to other private tankers operators to supply water to schools, hospitals and other essential service providers and institutions in the affected communities. Officials say the expansion works, when completed, will add an additional 12.3 million gallons of water daily to augment the already 40 million gallons of water produced daily by the Pong water treatment plants.
Consumers of petroleum products were spared an upward adjustment in prices of petroleum products at the pumps from over the weekend. The National Petroleum Authority, the industry regulator, did not increase prices on all petroleum products as expected. It was unclear what might have influenced the NPA's decision not to review the prices. Analysts say, per the models that guide the review of the petroleum product over every 2 weeks, there should have been an increase from last Sunday, February 16, 2014. Industry analysts are certain the depreciation cedi, increases in prices of crude oil on the world market, and plans to introduce a new tax on cost of production of petroleum products pegged between 1% and 6%. There should have been an upward review. Had the NPA approved an upward review, prices would have gone up by between 5% and 10%. However, a source close to the NPA told the Joy Business News team, by the regulator's own assessment, prices of crude oil have been dropping on the world market, hence the decision to keep prices of the various products unchanged at the pumps. The source further revealed that the NPA did not factor the depreciating cedi in the decision not to review the prices. The source said the NPA was still unclear about the recent Bank of Ghana directives aimed at stabilizing the fall in local currency, the cedi. Now, tensions as a result of a standoff between Ghana and Ivory Coast over the discovery of crude oil on the maritime boundary between the two countries could be potentially heightened even further. That's according to Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Alhaji Inusa Fuseni. He explained to Joy News that the stake have been raised now that both countries have commenced
commercial production in the area, but said government is not relenting in efforts to amicably resolve the dispute.
The area, which stretches over the maritime boundary between the countries, is said to hold significant reserves of crude oil and equally substantial amounts of natural gas. It is adjacent, though not very close to the Jubilee field, where production has been ongoing for some years now. Ivory Coast, in its latest claim to the area, happened sometime after commercial production began on the Ghanaian side, leading to the establishment of a technical committee in the spirit of ECOWAS to resolve the matter.
The main issue is the delimitation of our sea or maritime boundary. And the maritime boundary, I mean the territorial waters, the continental shelf of Ghana. What has happened over the years has been that we as a country, working together with the Côte d'Ivoire, have been able to delimit our land boundaries. But we have not been able to delimit our maritime boundaries. Now, there are various principles that are applied in delimiting the maritime boundary. Ghana believes that the principle that should apply in this matter is the equidistance principle. But the Ivorians think otherwise. So that is why a joint committee is formed in the spirit of ECOWAS to be able to sit down to peacefully resolve this matter.
Lands and Natural Resources Minister Alhaji Inusa Fuseni is optimistic Ghana will win the case.
The joint teams will have to visit the land boundary between Ghana and Ivory Coast, which is known as boundary post 55, the BP 55, to establish the geographical coordinates of that boundary.
Annually, most medical doctors posted to the 3 northern regions of Ghana refuse their postings despite the fact that a good number of doctors also come from that part of the country, particularly the Upper West region. The fact that the region has the poorest doctor-to-patient ratio in Ghana is a source of concern and frustration to residents, including the regional minister, Dr. Ephraim Avia-Nso. Manasseh Azure Awene recently traveled to the region and reports.
I've talked to anybody that I can find that will support to try and see how we can get doctors. In fact, this year, they posted about 10 of them since last year, late last year. And then only about 4 of them have come. In fact, one of them went back, and I'm not sure he's even back yet.
Between 2010 and 2012, 35 medical doctors were posted to the 3 regions of the north. However, none of them accepted posting there. There are 22 hospitals, 94 health centers, 181 functional CHIPS compounds in the 3 northern regions, but most of them do not have medical doctors. Interestingly, a good number of doctors in Ghana come from that part of the country. The Upper West region, for instance, is said to have produced a good number of the country's medical doctors and health specialists. In the Upper West region, some districts do not have medical doctors serving in health facilities there. Acquah West Regional Minister Dr. Ephraim Avia-Nso says the current situation is unacceptable.
People keep seeing the north as a Siberia, let's say in quotes, in the sense that it's a place that they are not able to get their lives fulfillment. For instance, I understand that while they are doing normal practice, they can do part-time, they can attend their school, they can put their children in better schools. That means they can make extra income. And when they come here, they might not have, in terms of perception, they might not have the kind of school for their children. They might not make as much income, extra income that they will have. They might not be able to do part-time lectures or online or whatever lectures. They might not have the internet connectivity as you have.
The argument many professionals advance against accepting postings to the north is the absence of amenities such as good schools for their children. But Dr. Ephraim Avia-Nso says this argument is flawed, especially for those from that part of the country.
There's this kind of wrong perception about the north, that it's a difficult place, it's sunny, and it's dusty during this time. So that wrong perception about this place to make the people who are supposed to have come here will not come. But the people who come from here, I find it difficult to explain why they are not here. It is those other factors that we have said. And of course, some other cultural factors, they think when they stay here, there's so much pressure on them, and so they might be able to develop as fast as they can. So if there's serious epidemic, their sisters, sometimes some of them, their wives are here, their blood brothers are here. Now, what would they be doing? Are they going to now mobilize doctors from outside the country or from there? When are they going to convince them to come and save their own people?
So why does the Upper West region produce doctors but does not have doctors to serve its people? Dr. Elias Sori is the immediate past Director General of the Ghana Health Service and a native of the region. Dr. Sori comes from a village with a population of less than 2,000, but that village has produced 4 medical doctors.
I go home, I talk, we organize meetings. Well, that is something that people don't know. How indigents, even though they might not be there working, they go to encourage, try to support the schools, to let people learn. The health might not be, but the support can be there. I think, yes, others can do same, but let us not look at how many doctors come from there. Let's look at how we can get doctors to be in the place, and we've got the brains to be able to.
Manasseh Azuri Awuni's report.
Since its launch in 2002 and subsequent passing into law in 2012, the implementation of the Patient's Charter, which seeks to enforce the rights of patients when seeking health care, still hangs in the balance. Yafusua Jemfe reports patients whom the Charter seeks to protect know little or nothing about it, leaving them at the mercy of health professionals who sometimes abuse their rights.
It's almost midday and the outpatients department of the La General Hospital is teeming with patients. There are several people here, young and old, all seeking one form of medical care or the other. In a bid to be relieved from their pain, many seem to forget or simply not aware of their rights to ensure they get the best of care. The Patient's Charter, launched in 2002 by the Ghana Health Service, became law following the passing into law of the Public Health Act in 2012. Under Section 167 of the Public Health Law, a patient has the right to privacy, confidentiality and access to quality health service, among others. The patient also has the responsibility to provide his or her full medical history to aid in his or her diagnosis. But 2 years since the enactment of the law, the Charter seems to have lost its relevance as the people it seeks to empower are simply ignorant of its existence. Most patients who spoke off camera were either unaware of the existence of the Charter or its contents, especially regarding their rights. A few of the patients, however, told me, though they did not know about the Charter, they still insist on what they believe are their rights when seeking treatment at the hospital.
I did that once, and I didn't get a correct feedback. So, sorry to say, I was very pissed off. So I walked out of the hospital very disappointed. Looking at my circumstance, I think that job is not well done. So I think they need to enforce more resources on that.
As a way of making the Charter work, some hospitals have made platforms such as suggestion boxes and complaint decks available for patients to register their complaints about services they receive at the hospital.
They have a book there where they record, and then from the book is brought to management or the complaint. Then we go through it and resolve it appropriately. Sometimes we have to even call the patient back. We have health education. The morning talks, before they come, they are educated on certain basic procedures in the hospital. Where the person feels his rights has been infringed upon, he has the option to still come forward to complain to management or any staff.
But some health experts say the full implementation of the Patient's Charter will be difficult due to challenges of inadequate number of health workers, especially in deprived communities.
The Ghana Armed Forces is cautioning the public against speculating about recent death of an Air Force officer and her military husband. Well, there have been suggestions that the soldier, Corporal Fred Nasram, shot his wife, Antoinette Agbagba, and shot himself thereafter, with almost the body decomposing in the home just after 2 days. in the house in which they lived. Well, Director of Public Affairs at the Military High Command says investigations were yet to be conducted into how the death occurred. The mother of the female Air Force officer has been speaking to the news team, and she implored the daughter not to return to the husband's house that fateful day in her narration to the team.
Decomposed bodies of the couples were discovered on Friday. Manjoy Online sources indicated that Corporal Nashramil allegedly used a locally manufactured pistol and shot the wife on the chest at close range, killing her instantly. He then pointed a gun to his neck and shot himself. In narrating the incident, the mother of the deceased Air Force officer, Madam Hodo, said Fred had come to a residence at Kakasunaka No. 1 to pick his clothes, but Antoinette resisted it and insisted on going to pick her things from the man first.
And he called for your money by. I'm just saying, tell me something because you'll be empty as you. And to me for a report to this. Yeah, I'm going to say you didn't. The man for what?
So when you went to the house, there have also been suggestions that Corporal Fred Nasrami could face a military trial even in death for his alleged actions. But Colonel Mbawini at Intended says it will be too early for people to arrive at that conclusion.
Well, our law provides for that, you know, but then there are certain circumstances under which the law applies. So I believe there's not just in every case that something like that comes about, you know. Let's say suicide, for example, is a very serious issue as far as the armed forces is concerned. Of course, murder is also another thing that is very, very serious. And in the armed forces, by the armed forces law, we don't try murder. So murder cannot be tried within our own circumstances. But suicide is a different thing, even though it also leads to death. You know, but the circumstances will determine what kind of action, you know, to take subsequently. So it is too early yet to jump to the conclusion that, for example, that somebody is going to be tried, you know, at the end of it. You know, we would have to gather all the evidence, get to the bottom of the matter, and we know which course of action to take subsequently.
Meanwhile, sympathizers continue to troop into Madam Hodo's residence to console her.
A young man alleged to have murdered a 28-year-old woman at the Sokoban Wood village in Kumasi in the Ashanti region has been lynched. It is still unknown why Sarah Sechofia, a chop bar attendant at the Wood village, was killed by the assailant. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
Police say the woman was clubbed to death by an assailant in the early hours of Monday. According to the Acquah District Police Command, it has not been able to establish the rationale behind the killing. But the suspected murderer, who is unknown to the people at the Wood village, was pursued and lynched by a mob. The two bodies have been deposited at the morgue. Family and sympathizers have gathered at the house of the deceased to mourn her passing.
Tax policy advisor at the Finance Ministry, Dr. Edward Labisian, says only non-core financial services of commercial banks will attract the newly introduced 17.5% VAT. He adds that the VAT charge on these services, which include legal and accounting advisory, safe custody of cash, among others, will commence by close of next month.
The newly introduced 17.5% value-added tax on some services which were previously exempted from taxes, particularly on financial services, seem to be causing jitters in the bank sector. There are concerns the VAT will be charged on day-to-day services such as maintaining customer current accounts, transferring money, issuing bank drafts and checkbooks, among others. But the tax policy advisor at the Finance Ministry, Dr. Edward Labisian, explains there is no cause for alarm as it is just some select affected financial transactions, which will attract the new VAT.
The normal financial services, that you open an account, they keep your account, are not going to be affected. In fact, the last time we met the banks, they were of the view that it's going to affect their 3 million customers. No. What is going to be affected are the non-core financial services. If there is a bank offering legal services, like an ordinary lawyer in his chambers, that is non-core bank. And many people wouldn't go to a bank normally. They go to the bank to save. So majority of people who bank are not going to be affected.
He was sure the move, although delayed, will be effected by the ending of March.
The final tax is 17.5, but at various stages. The banks, in doing those services, may buy inputs for which they will pay the 17.5. So if they are giving you the service, they will charge the 17.5, but credit themselves with the previous one. So the full impact is never 17.5 at the end. It's a temporary break in its implementation, and we are meeting to clear which areas, and immediately we'll get the areas that we have to tax. It will be implemented, but we don't have too much time. It will be done maybe at the end of March.
Dr. Edward Labisian also maintained the technical committee is still negotiating with the banks to agree on the modalities and the list of services they render to clients that are taxable, and will make them public once they are agreed on. Abigail Adumakwenchi for Joy News.
Meanwhile, tax experts have warned the government's penchant to simply increase taxes without addressing loopholes in the system could backfire. Government is therefore being advised to be bold and be more innovative to broaden the tax net. The advice comes at a time that government is faced with a ballooning wage bill, which is putting pressure on its resources. Etonamse has more.
The country currently spends more than what it collects as revenue, while 60% of what is collected also goes to settle public wages. Another worrying statistic is the fact that only a third of the 6 million eligible taxpayers actually pay. Government has therefore been looking at ways to widen the tax net to meet revenue shortfalls. Tax experts are, however, worried most of what has happened so far has been increases in taxes.
If currently hearings are passing through the loopholes, when you widen with those loopholes, tilapia will go through it. No more hearings, meaning the big defaulters will now have impetus to evade tax. We can start from various sectors. If we take the professionals, chartered accountants, lawyers, doctors, HR practitioners, consultants, people belong to associations. Before you can practice, you need a license. That license is your card that earns you the income. If you don't have the license, you can't practice. Can the government revenue sit down with the various associations and groups? If you are not up to date with your taxes, you don't produce a tax clearance certificate, you don't get your license renewed.
We have the Registrar General's department. If this is well linked with the revenue authorities, they should be able to identify the new businesses that are coming up. Another means is to track the imports right from the ports to whoever the wholesalers are for that importer, down to the retailer of that wholesaler, and then use that to rope down to see how much you can capture.
He adds, if government keeps increasing VAT on products and services, people will spend less.
Instead of buying tinned canned food, let's say sardine or, excuse me, say tinapa, mackerel, I'll go and buy the salmon from the market, do I pay VAT on that? That is the problem. So we have to look at some of these things. As and when you are increasing prices, people are moving from consuming the taxable items to the non-taxable items. I'm not saying that's salmon, or that's the typical how we pronounce it. That salmon on the market is not good. It is good, it is nourishing, but then you're losing the revenue by these adjustments.
A tax policy advisor at the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Edward Labisian, meanwhile says government's approach has not been as simplistic as is being suggested.
We are directing our effort towards education until the programs that we are turning out. There is a full computerization system, that is e-government, a World Bank project, that is going to register all taxpayers, both individuals and companies.
At On Joynews.
The Ghana Journalists Association will today, February 18, hold a memorial vigil for late BBC broadcaster Komla Dumont and Metro TV's journalist Samuel Hesse. The two journalists died hours apart in mid-January this year. The vigil will be held at the International Press Center here in Acquah. It will be attended by members from the media fraternity, deputy ministers, chiefs, members of the clergy, among others. GJ President of El Moni says the event will take the form of prayers for the two families.
Before we go, patients at the Tamale Teaching Hospital in the Northern Region are alleging widespread corruption and extortion by staff of the medical facility. According to them, the situation, if not checked, could negatively affect healthcare delivery at the facility, which serves people from all over the northern part of Ghana. Joy News' Hashmin Mohammed has filed the next report.
So after everything, they called me and told me that we have to pay the 26 Ghana cedi.
Okay.
And we asked, what are we paying? They injected the baby and the mother.
Okay.
That's what we are paying for.
Okay.
So we gave them 30 Ghana cedis, and they asked us that they don't have change. That they don't have change for 4 cedi for us. No, they didn't give us a receipt, and they didn't tell us. Don't know what kind, and we didn't see. We didn't see what kind of injection they gave the baby.
But my wife was going to deliver. She delivered a baby boy, girl, this evening. They asked us to pay 30 Ghana cedis for our discharge fee. I asked them whether I would get receipt for the 30 Ghana cedis. They say no, they don't have receipt for that. I asked them why are they quoting me that 30 cedis. They say for medicine. I asked them, is the medicine
who demanded that money from you?
The lady at the labor ward or department.
Is she a nurse?
I don't know whether she's a nurse or, but they say she's Hajia. I don't know her name, but they call her, they usually call her Hajia, charge fee.
Okay.
She said the medicine that they use for the my wife, I should pay that money. I said I don't have that money. Why health insurance is not covered? They say they don't have it as stock in their pharmacies. Even if they have it, it's finished.
Some nurses do not only extort monies from poor patients. Labor wards at the hospital have become grounds for trading activities. Patients are forced to buy detergents from staff against the hospital's own rules of engagement. Head of Nursing Services at the hospital, Alhaji Abdul Kadir, confirms.
We don't need to have any official complaint because it's all over the place. But there is no single sheet of paper that has come official to my notice. Not even the areas they are complaining about. But that doesn't mean that I'm saying that there are no problems there, because in every human institution there are problems. And the problems are there because we come from different angles. we could be professionals, but we definitely have our own upbringing, we have our interpersonal relationship and all that. These are all things that when we are dealing with professionals, whether we like or not, they will all play a part. So all that we are saying is this, whether the report is with me or not, is something I'm hearing. So I have started going into it one after the other.
Patients complain about the unavailability of drugs at the hospital. They say they are always approached by middlemen in the ward who readily provide the drugs at extra cost. Alhaji Hudu Idrisu is Regional Director at the National Health Insurance Authority in the Northern Region.
We cannot make such a blanket statement that hospital staff are stealing, they are thieves. I believe that we have a majority of the staff who would not steal, and even if they get other people stealing, they would report them. But the truth of the matter is that this is a human institution, and attitudes differ from one person to another. So we cannot say that there are no people who would steal, no matter the kinds of systems that we put in place. But as we speak, we have mounted close to about 28 CCTVs around all parts of the hospital. That is in most of the wards, the theaters, and very, very important areas. That is whether they are waiting areas or they are areas that people just don't keep long. But we still will mount those things, the CCTVs, just to serve as preemptive measure towards people undertaking to stealing.
These drugs are not stored or handled properly, exposing patients to risk. Director of Pharmacy at the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Nicholas Ajimani, is worried about the trend.
They give these drugs to patients, right? They want to induce them, but patients deliver normally. And these drugs are kept by staff of the hospital, who later sell to others. Okay, normally if you want to deliver, they want to induce you to deliver. But when you're able to deliver normally, then it means that the drugs will not be used on you. Meanwhile, they would have provided it to you already. Okay, that is where the problem comes. These drugs are kept by staff because they didn't use them. They have them, and then they want to sell it to.
Without the approval of the pharmacy?
No, you see, the pharmacy department has supplied the drugs to the ward. You see, the doctors write prescriptions for patients to collect drugs from the pharmacy. The pharmacy has provided the drugs to the patient. It's taken to the ward. You see, the reason was that we are going to induce the patient to deliver. But for some reasons, the patient delivers normally. So the drugs are not used. Although they would have been supplied from the
Medical staff can charge unofficial fees to attend to patients. They may demand bribes for medication which should be free. Fraud, extortion and corruption in health can mean only one thing: the difference between life and death. The poor will be the worst affected. From the Tamale Teaching Hospital, this is Hashmin Mohammed's report for Joy News.
Well, so that's it we have for the news update on the AM show. Before we go, though, and continue our regular subjects of discussion on the show, recap of our top stories.
Residents of Adenta, Tema and Jolu to experience acute water shortage from next week.
Up north, patients at the Tamale Teaching Hospital, as you just watched in that story, accused doctors in the region of alleged widespread corruption and extortion by staff.
And the Ghana Journalists Association, the GJA, will today, Tuesday, 18th of February, hold a memorial vigil for late Komla Dumor and Metro TV's Samuel Hesse. That's all in the news. Stay with us. We'll be back with a whole lot more.
Just stay on.
Morning, I'm Baba Tando. Time now to talk sports on the AM show. It's proudly made possible by Tigo and Cowbell. We begin from the local scene where a number of clubs in the 2014 MTN FA Cup have been earmarked for sanctioning for various degrees of breaches, according to the MTN FA Cup committee. Now, title holders Mediama SC, as well as lower tier sides Starkey FC and Bibiani Gold Stars, were mentioned as guilty of disallowing sanctioned cameramen to cover their home matches and are liable to 1,500 Ghana cedi fines each, as per the regulations of the Ghana FA. Now, the committee also raised concerns over recent acts of violence at some FA Cup centres, stating that 4 cases have been forwarded to the disciplinary committee. Now, the round of 16 matches of the 2014 FA Cup competition have been scheduled for from 20th to 23rd of February. Away from that, let's talk boxing. And popular Ghanaian boxer who is yet to be defeated, Brahma Kamoko, we popularly know him as Bukum Banku. He visited the premises of Multimedia Group Limited at the Kokomlemle premises and decided to sign Komlat Duma's Book of Condolence. Our cameras captured him.
Komlat Duma, he make me popular. I love him very well. But the time I hear Komlat Duma in dead, I know they are around. But I thank God, everything God they do, we accept it. Rest in peace, because this man is make me popular. Yes, for me, I like Komlat Duma. God giving the very sleeping well. Always he coming to interview me on Joy FM. That time he come go to fight, everybody come and see. He speaking no English. The man himself, that's what I like the man. He make me popular. Yes. That time I'm telling the professional. He follow my everything. He follow my everything. Always he call me in home, come radio station. Always he call me. He come my house, he talk to me, make me interview every day. But that thing I hear that Komlat Duma is dead. I can't sleep very well. Because all the time I dey cry, because I want this man sit, God giving long life to go and fight international fight, to give him money to chop, because he give me name in Ghana. Yeah. Oh no, I don't know his family, because I don't know his family. Only Komlat Duma me I know, but if I know his family, I will go there to supply him. Yeah, I'll go there to talk to him very well.
We still stick with the Bukum Banku personality, but this time he's been looking forward to his much-awaited bout with his arch-rival Ayite Powers on April 18. Now, Bukum Banku, or Brahma Kamoko, has been speaking to Joy Sports on his preparation towards that bout.
I'm preparing myself very well, because I don't know that Ghana people make this fight, big fight like that. If we do fight, Ghana people make well, I don't know what is going on, because I don't think about this fight. Master, I think about where fight is. I the boys cannot beat me, because I they stop him, because you don't know nothing about boxing. You don't get fit, you don't know boxing, you don't know anything. I the boys, I go beat them, whether rain or shine. I go beat the boys.
I really cannot wait for that bout. It's on April 18 here in Accra. Stay tuned to Joy Sports, because we certainly have more for you. Now, tonight, I call it the big night in the UEFA Champions League, because 2 mighty teams are meeting each other at the Etihad Stadium. It's Manchester City up against Barcelona. And later on, also tonight, there's also Bayer Leverkusen at home to Paris Saint-Germain at the Bay Arena inside Germany. So that's what's going to be happening tonight. Bayer Leverkusen, Paris Saint-Germain, and then we have Manchester City up against Barcelona. And of course, you know Mourinho, he's been talking a lot ahead of this particular game between Manchester City and Barcelona. He says that Manchester City are going to meet the weakest ever Barcelona team. So it means that it should be a skill over for them. Manchester City should be able to beat Barcelona. But we'll see how it goes. Tomorrow, we'll be here with updates from that particular game. Remember that you can get details of all of these stories and more on the sports page of myjoyonline.com. My name is Baba Tando. Sports on the AM show is made possible by the kind courtesy of Tigo and cowbell. The AM show continues right after this.